Okay, another episode. This week we are going to discuss tennis. Tom's not with us at the minute. I think he's just putting his girls to sleep, and he will hopefully join in a bit. McSweeney, how are you?
Very well, sir. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. As always, weekend just flies by, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, tennis. Obviously, with tennis, it was a bit of a because Tom isn't much of a tennis, I wouldn't say fan, but yeah, in terms of knowledge and experience and just in general interest, I think me and you are by far, a lot higher in that than Tom. So I was going to get Tom to lead with the questioning today, but it's all good. We'll wait for him to arrive if he does manage to. So yeah, first one I want to kick off with is how did you actually get into tennis? In other words, what are your earliest memories of tennis and the sport itself?
Yeah. So for me, earliest memories was actually picking up a racket around about 6. So
Okay.
yeah, that was my brother. My brother was doing some sort of coaching, like a group coaching thing in the summer holidays, or it was around about probably spring, summertime. Obviously, because the weather in the UK is so unreliable that you have to try and do it around then. If you be learning tennis, it's going to be roughly around at that point of year. So
Mm,
would have been sort of summer '96, and I just kind of like obviously saw people holding a racket, hitting his balls over the net, and I was intrigued by it. I also at the same time, my cousin from Australia, Naomi, came over. I think again it was around about the summer of was it? No, I think it was probably the spring actually. My dad's 40th. Dad's 40th in '96, so that would have been April '96, and just before what I've just mentioned to you.
mm.
And we had the Mega Drive, which we've discussed before
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
on the gaming podcast. But yeah, one of the games that we just bought was Pete Sampras, Pete Sampras Tennis. It was called
Oh bloody hell, on the Mega Drive.
on the Mega Drive. It was
Okay.
produced by Codemasters. Yeah, so
Okay, okay, yeah.
that was like, and again, I was obviously looking at that, thinking, okay, it's obviously like basic in terms of graphics and everything
Mm,
else, but I guess that would have been just before I actually saw a net in real life and held a racket, hitting the
mm,
ball and stuff. But yeah, that was my first common exposure to it. And then the following summer, Wimbledon was on TV. I think I was off school during the summer holidays, and I was like 7 at the time. And I remember seeing Venus Williams. I think she made her
yeah.
debut in '97.
Mm,
She had these like sort of purple, green, and white beads in her hair.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so that was quite a memorable moment because obviously I was thinking like, who is this?
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen this court before. Looking at the grass and all that comes with it on centre court is pretty amazing. And obviously that was her first Wimbledon, so it coincided with me first watching Wimbledon. But just after that would have been Rosetsky getting to the final against Pat Rafter, US Open
Mm.
in September that year. So again, I would say my first proper exposure to tennis would have been '96, '97, fairly young. And yeah, it sort of grew from there. But what about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I wasn't as early as you, and I can't really remember back. Obviously, I've been following it quite a lot since the mid 2000s, I'd say. I don't know which final it was. I might actually stick into Google. Actually, your brain might be able to tell me.
Yeah,
Um, Federer and the Chilean Gonzalez, they had uh,
2007.
Australian Open final. It was.
Yeah, 2007, definitely.
Now, I don't think it was I don't think it was that one. Then that's probably later on. So what I'm thinking, because back in the day, because I used to wake up really early, and I
Yeah,
used to watch obviously TV early, and I think every now and again on a Sunday morning, BBC would be showing the Australian Open final, obviously,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
remember watching that. But I do, you know, briefly remember watching, Gonzalez and Thingy Federer, but I'm pretty sure I did watch tennis before that. Again, my memory is not the best, so I can't really remember. I do remember at one point, we were in a park again as kids. This was many years ago, and there was a guy playing tennis, and he was going on about how he coached Tim Henman and all this shit. He was probably talking out of his ass, but it always fascinated us. And I remember going to school the following day or the following week, and I'm like, oh yeah, we met
Yeah,
Tim Henman's coach. We met Tim Henman, and you know what I mean. But One of the questions I go into later on is, obviously, did we ever play, did we ever play and stuff? But yeah, leading on to that, yeah, I was never really a huge tennis fan growing up, as a kid, that is. But as I've got older and as I've obviously, the other players have come about, the Federers and the Nadals and all sorts, obviously I've gone into a lot more. But yeah, earliest memories. I'll probably say just watching random tennis on the telly because I always love sport. So yeah, one question actually I didn't actually include, but I did want to ask because I just thought about it. Going and actually seeing tennis live. How many times have you actually gone to see it live? And when was it? What event was it?
Oh, I mean, okay. So if I do it chronologically, because I like to do it
Yes,
chronologically.
yes, it has to be done that
Yeah,
way.
it's got to be exact. So my first time was on centre court in 2005, and my
Oh
first match
wow,
I saw
yeah.
was Roger Federer against Nicholas Kiefer. Do you remember the German?
I don't remember the name, mate. No.
So the funny thing is, Federer was so dominant in that tournament. It was the
Yeah.
only set that he actually dropped the whole tournament was against Nicholas Kiefer in the match I
Okay.
saw.
Okay.
So I've got that because I remember at the time he smacked Roddick in straight sets in the final, and I think that year the field was a bit. It wasn't quite because Nadal was young. He lost to a guy from Luxembourg, which Gilles Muller. Gilles Muller. So he lost in like the second round, Nadal.
So that was 05, right? Who actually won in 05 and who did he beat in the final?
Federer beat Roddick in straight sets in the final. I think he might
Straight
have got
sets.
one of
Okay.
the sets to a tiebreaker.
Oh yeah, I remember the one he lost. He won, sorry, in five. Obviously, that went on quite long. I do remember
Yeah,
watching that one live. I don't know what year that was. Was it 06?
2009.
Oh, 2009. Yeah, it's a lot later on then. But yeah,
Yeah,
I don't remember the straight sets victory though.
yeah. So it wasn't very memorable, but
Yeah.
in terms of final, but obviously me seeing him in the flesh for the first time.
Of course, yeah.
Second match was Kim Clijsters against someone called Roberta Vinci, who actually got to. I was looking at this earlier, and she got to the US Open final in 2015. I
Yeah, the
completely
name
forgot.
rings a bell. That's probably why, because I think there was two not top, top five, top 10 players in that final, which is why it's sort of forgotten about. But
Didn't
Vinci
she
does ring a
lose
bell.
like? Didn't she lose like? Is it Flavia Panetta or like
Yeah, something
Francesca
like that.
Schiavone?
Yeah, no, it's Giovanni won the French Open, I remember.
That was it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember there was a US Open final with two women where, they weren't really like, the top of the top. It was just random. It's similar to when Cilic and Isla Nishikori, like
Yes.
completely random. Like I doubt the fans would have paid a shit ton of money to go. Yeah, they're expecting the
Yeah.
Djokovic's and all sorts. Obviously, and they got Cilic versus Nishikori. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Again, unmemorable, sort of event because of who you end up in the final. But yeah.
Yeah, so there was that, and then obviously, but after that was the main event, which is Murray against Nalbandian, and Murray was like, probably about 11 stone soaking wet at the time. There's nothing on
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
18-year-old, he'd had that sort of ankle brace, which I kept looking at and thinking this guy's going to collapse at any minute, like he did at Queens that year as well against Thomas Janssen, where he just sort of fell
Mhm.
to the ground and then it's cramping up, but he was getting cramps a lot. And the final, he was 2 sets up against Nalbandian, and then in the sort of 4th set, he started to struggle.
Mm.
And you just thought, typical Nalbandian, he comes from 2 sets down a lot. He's going to have him, and he did in the end. But it's an amazing
Yeah.
match. I did centre court the year after. Saw Nadal, saw Murray again. I saw Hemans' retirement match on court 1, the Davis Cup in 2007. Do you remember that?
I don't. I know. Again, I probably wasn't watching like a lot at that time. So yeah, no, I don't
Yeah.
remember.
So there was that as well, which is like the doubles of Jamie Murray beat
Yeah.
Croatia. Cilic was actually one of the doubles players there. So that was
Also, I mean, in general, you've watched a shit ton of tennis then over the years.
yeah.
Yeah.
Again, after that, I'm thinking, what was it? 2009 was I was at Queens, and then I said to you about US Open 2018,
Who won
Australian
it? Who won Queens that year? That you went?
The year I went, 2009, would have been Murray
Murray.
against
Okay.
Blake. Against Blake in the final.
Yeah, I remember Blake. Yeah.
Yeah. And yes, US Open 2018, I went with my brother because my brother lives
Yeah.
in America. Australian Open this year, which I told you about because my
Yeah.
relatives live there, and I
Yeah.
went there for 2 days. And there's actually another one which I think you've been to as well, which is ATP World Tour Finals at O2.
Yeah.
And I did that. I think first year I did it was 2014. I definitely did it 2015 as well and 2016. So I did it 3 years on the spin.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of me, I've only ever gone to the tour finals. I've never been to any other events and stuff. Of course, you look into Wimbledon and stuff, but the tickets are just so, you know, difficult, extremely difficult to get.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the tour finals when I went again, I managed to see Rafa and Murray one day. On one event, I saw Cilic versus no, not sorry, not Cilic, Ranić versus Murray, which was very entertaining because I was sitting
Was that match?
yeah, because I was sitting side on, so you can see
Yeah.
the power from Ranić when he's serving like a bullet. It was really entertaining. Um, I did see someone else. I think I saw Berdych and someone. I can't remember, but those are
Did
the
you
ones
see
I
Wawrinka?
I honestly can't remember, mate. I might have. I went about 3 or 4 times, probably about. I'd say probably three if I'm playing it safe. But yeah, I try to go. I normally used to get the day pass. Obviously you get the morning, the afternoon and evening session, so you know.
Yeah.
But I think on the one occasion I only had the morning because sometimes you sort of know who's playing and you're like, yeah, I'm not interested in watching them play. So but I think yeah, one when I got only the morning was when it was Murray and Nadal, and Nadal beat him in straight sets. But yeah, it's nice to experience, and the O2, you know, you're not too far away. You know, it's a good atmosphere, the lighting and everything. So it's enjoyable to watch it. But I would obviously love to watch and you know watch something outdoors. Um, but at the same time, you know, I'm not like I wouldn't say I'm like a fanatic. You know what I mean? Like I love watching tennis. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
I'm not that much of a fan to go and fork out a shit ton of money, like 50 odd quid to just watch. You know what I mean? So the OT wasn't too bad because it was I think it was about 30 quid at the time or whatever it was, so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, only the tour finals. Obviously, it's not in the UK anymore, so yeah, no real chance to really go back to it. I think it's in Turin, ain't it? Or have they
Yeah.
changed that?
True. I mean, they had it for about sort of what 12 years or so. I think from
Yeah,
like 2009
it
till
was
because
a
it was in
good
Beijing,
stint.
wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it was in China before that. Yeah, but it was a good stint. So yeah, it was good to obviously go and watch it. But yeah, following question: what do you love about the sport? What is it that makes tennis so great for you, in your opinion?
So yeah, for me, I think the individual nature of it,
Yeah.
compared to, it's probably, I'd say it is my favourite sport because
Oh, really? Even above
I'd
football?
say it would be. Yeah, I'd say it would be because I think football, yeah, there's a lot of excitement about it, and
Yeah.
it's a major spectacle. It's going to be the most watched sport in the world, isn't it? Football, hands
Yeah. Yeah.
down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I just think with tennis, I think this comes from like me as well. Like when I was younger, I was in a football team.
Mm,
It didn't quite work out for me initially, in terms of that kind of collective feel like you sort of belong. And I think what happened was when I picked up a tennis racket, and it's sort of all down to me to normally, unless you're playing doubles, it was down to me to kind of work out, what was basically a bit of problem solving, try and strategize yourself. And I think I'm that
mm,
sort of guy that likes to kind of take a step back and do that. Whereas when you're playing football, I don't know if you feel the same way. Like when you're playing team sports, you're relying on other people, and also it's like if you haven't got the ball or if you're not in charge of it, you kind of feel like you're out of control.
yeah, no, I do get that. Obviously, you know, complete contrast between an individual sport where it's all you non-stop, like pressure's on you.
Yeah,
Whereas with football, yeah, it's obviously split out. So yeah, I completely get what you're saying.
yeah, and I like the point system as well. It's a little bit quirky to people that don't really know the sports, but I actually took to it quite quickly because of the gaming side of things. The Pete
Yeah.
Sampras game on a Mega Drive, it was like okay, 15 all, 30-15, 40-15 juice, etc. Advantage. I like the fact you could be absolutely walloped like 6-love, and then in the next set, the momentum just swings all the time in
Mm, mm,
tennis, isn't it? So I think there's a bit of bias there from that point of view, the individual nature of it, and also just the way I've played the sport in the past and approached it. Um, I think there's a lot more passion as well. I find like every single tournament means something. I think to
yeah.
players, like the players that turn up, and it doesn't matter whether it's like a 250 bottom of the pile tournament or the majors. I think you see the same passion for people because they
Mm,
obviously do like the speeches at the end and thank the teams and stuff. Whereas I think with like again, go back to football, other sports, it's a bit more people, kind of look out for themselves, but then it can let the team down. They don't really they're not quite as accountable, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So that for me, I think kind of encompasses why I love a sport. And can you relate to any of that? I mean, how would you sort of articulate your love for it or your?
Yeah, I mean your point about it being an obviously individual sport is the key here, and yeah, it was interesting knowing obviously it's probably your favorite sport. Now, for me, I'd say the fact that it's just so fast paced, like similar to your comparisons you made with football. You can go through spells in a football match where it's a bit slow, it's a bit dead, but with tennis, it's non-stop. Like you're serving, you're on it. You have to like a return, a forehand, a backhand. It's just non-stop, and yeah, you get your little breaks, and at times I see them sitting there on the changeovers, for example, and I'm like, these guys need a bit more time to have a little rest. It's just such a grueling sport, and
Yeah,
the effort that goes into it. I mean, I respect them so much, to put their bodies through that. So, and especially when they're on the tour in the the ATP tournaments, you're playing daily, you're playing day after day. And obviously in the Grand Slams you get a day rest, but it's just crazy. And especially in even in the Grand Slams, even when it's 3 sets, you're going non-stop for depending on the weather as well, in places like Australia, even Wimbledon, when the sun's out. It's just crazy to me that the amount of energy that it takes, and what it does to your body. So yeah, so much respect for them, and I guess again the point I was trying to make it in the beginning, it's just non-stop. There's no chance to like yeah, you can make a few mistakes, but as you said, you can get battered one set, but then you can make a comeback and get straight back into the game. It is an amazing sport to watch, and really enjoyable. So yeah, although your point again about it being your most favorite sport, I'm trying to think where I would rank it in my head, and I probably would put it third. Although football would probably be number one, not so much now because Chelsea are shite. Boxing's up there, like probably second, but I'll say tennis is a close third. I do love my tennis, especially when the Grand Slams come about. I don't really watch much of the ATP stuff. No, I used to back in the day a bit more, obviously having more time and no kids and stuff. But nowadays, it is, even the Grand Slams, I don't really get a chance to watch them as much, but I try to, as much
yeah.
as I can. I think Saint Timothy has joined us. He's here now, so
All right,
um,
thanks.
how are you, mate? No, yeah, we've just we just answered two questions actually. So yeah, how we got into tennis and what we love about the sport, and I asked McSweeney about what tennis matches he's actually been to. So yeah, we're going to go on to favorite surface. I mean, Tom, again with you, I know you're not a huge tennis nut, but I'm sure you've had some experience and you've watched the odd match here and there. So yeah, I'm sure you can have some input.
Yeah, I mean, you like those first two questions. When did you first get interested, and what makes you love the sport? I would say I don't love it, and I just watch it to pass the time. I mean, the only times when I watch it is Wimbledon, because it's the glitz and glam a little bit. It's like the pantry. It's almost like the pompousness about it. Like everyone wears a suit, and like you've got strawberries and champagne, and fucking all of like the ball boys and the ball girls are like immaculate, and like everyone wears Ralph Lauren is like the main clothing brand, and it makes you proud to be British and so on and so forth. But Emma Raducanu winning US Open years ago was the only other time when I actually watched it. I never got into tennis apart from properly when Alcaraz beat Djokovic in that 5 set one. Was it last year?
2 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2023. Yeah,
When,
last year, didn't he?
yeah, he went on for like 5 hours, didn't it? And
yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it was fairly long, wasn't it? It wasn't like, again, I think of like other finals, mainly on hard courts actually, that have gone ridiculously long. But yeah, I think that one was long, but it wasn't like a Colossus duration.
No. What was that? When was it? What year when there was like the longest tennis game ever? When they went off like 13 hours?
2010. I actually went. So I've got a story about this. I don't know if it was the same day, but I actually took. I think it was the day after. It might have been the day after, or it's the first week. And basically, I went on a date at Wimbledon. So we queued up. Actually, hold on. It was the second week because Federer, I think, lost to Berdych in the quarters. I think he did. So it was the second week, but the previous week to that in 2010, and we might go back to it in a minute if you want to. If I want to fill some questions on a date, but no, back to your original point is that John Isner against Nicola Mahut.
That's the one.
On court 18. I remember turning it on and like I think my dad or my brother was sort of coming in and out of the living room, and it was like, "Is this match still on?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, basically, because there's no tiebreak in the final set, this could go on like forever and ever.
Was it 68-70?
Yeah, exactly. So it was like, it was just every time I picked it up, I sort of, you know, you did a court selecting, you can go through like different matches. I kept coming back to it, thinking, "What's going on here?" I think like, and I always say to people, I think that the final set alone at that point in time was the longest match in history. Just that one set.
Wow.
Which is like about 5-6 hours. 6 hours, call it 6 hours.
One comment I actually want to make, sorry Simon to cut in, when Tom mentioned the whole pompousness about it, one thing I do not like about Wimbledon is this fucking royal box bullshit. I just sit there and I watch it and I think to myself, all you wankers sitting there in your suits, in your little gold trim railings, you know, oh, look at us with, you know, we're on TV and I think that's so cringe. I have to say that. You know, sit, you know, have some posh seats, fair enough, but right and center in front of the, you know, in front of the main camera, and you know, the way they get them to stand up and wave every now and again, or
Mexican wave.
Yeah, no, not even the Mexican wave. You know, sometimes sometimes they introduce them and shit. I just find it so cringe and batty.
I was just gutted that the Queen didn't turn up until 2011. Because I think the previous time she went there was during the Golden Jubilee year when Virginia Wade won it, but sorry, Silver Jubilee. But
didn't she hand it the trophy or something?
I think she might have done actually. Yeah, no, she did. Yeah, back in '77. Yeah, but yeah, you get always. I mean, even like when like so Bex and Posh and Bex turn up, it's
because isn't what's her face? Isn't Kate like the president or like the ambassador to the British Loyal like Lawn Tennis Association or something stupid like that?
And by the way, man, I'm a member of that as well. So
you're the only commoner in that group.
I'll say I'm a member. I've got a card, and I ain't going to get into any. Well, I can get into the community sports ground in Rains Park, and also Roehampton, where they did a qualifiers before the tournament.
Oh yeah.
But I can't like just go up to the gates at SW19 just get let in.
Yeah, let me in, Sharon. Come call that.
Let me for a date. Let me.
Yeah, I got to climb over like the was it the Liverpool fans at the Champions League final?
Oh yeah, they all got pepper spray in us, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I interrupted Midge. Your question was, what was your favourite surface?
You know what? I was thinking about this one before, and I don't know if I can actually say what my fucking favourite surface is. I do love tennis in general. I'd say my least favourite is probably clay. Again, I've just never been a huge fan of. I've watched a lot of clay court tennis. Don't get me wrong, with Rafa's dominance in the French Open, and I don't know. I was thinking, is it grass? But probably not. I guess grass just has that, you know, for us as Brits, as you know, that summer feeling. You know, you turn the TV on, it's on BBC. You can easily watch it. Again, it's summertime, and I guess that's what's linked with the best and positive memories. But I don't genuinely have a favorite surface. I don't really. Yeah, I can't really answer that one. I'm going to hand over to Simon.
I'll say definitely grass, but it would, again, because of Wimbledon, because of like even Queen's Club. The courts at Queen's Club are apparently even better than the ones at Wimbledon. So that's what Andy Roddick used to say. Yeah, absolutely immaculate. And I think, but trouble. The only thing I would say is they have changed it in recent years. I think since about mid 2000s, I know Henman said that apparently they made the balls like lighter and like, the grass a bit shorter, so obviously to make the rallies go longer, and that's why you're seeing a lot more baseliners win Wimbledon.
Okay, that's
So
didn't know that.
that was the theory behind that, and it's a proven fact as well, because I think they even came out and said that like this year the grass is going to be cut to this length and the balls will be this weight or whatever. But I say definitely grass would be my favourite, but obviously playing when I was younger, I'd be on the sort of the concrete, the tarmac, isn't it?
Tarmac, yeah. That's it.
Yeah, and I used to enjoy playing on AstroTurf the most, actually, because that you can actually fall over and not feel like you're getting completely scuffed up and skinned. So
yeah.
So
Timothy, your favourite surface? Go on, you can answer it as well.
You know what? I was giving it a little bit of a think earlier, and I would say grass. So make it 3 out of 3, but mainly because it's Wimbledon and because it just looks sexy. It looks like it's so well maintained, and like you can. It's like the Leicester City groundsman when they won the Premier League title, and it was so well maintained, and you can make out like the little squares, and it just looked sexy. Clay just looks dirty. I mean, as soon as you put on all of the white paint, someone will just go on that, and then they'll run all over it, and then it's just a smashed up fucking rock, isn't it? It literally is just sand.
It is. The cool thing about it though is playing on clay, it's actually quite therapeutic. Doing the thing with the lines, you sort of drag the. I think you've seen this, then dragging the
thing clean it up,
to tidy it up, spruce it
yeah.
up between sets, and I did that a couple of times. It's actually quite a therapeutic thing to do, but I do agree with you. You even see the players like whacking their shoes to try and get the clay out the soles.
Yeah, there you go. Well, what's the other surface then?
Carpet,
because that's like, it's almost like, like it's like carpet. It's just something stupid. But if you were to fall over, then you would fuck up your knee, wouldn't you? It's just pure.
I'm trying to think, because they've got indoor courts in Sutton, which I think have got carpet. But again, it's carpet
it's a
to
rare
me.
surface, so you don't see it much, do you?
It's like they used to have it like back in the days when used to play like 5 sets in even the Masters events. Like at the end of the year, the indoor court season, sort of autumn onwards, it'd be like they had like the odd carpet one in like Shanghai or somewhere. I think Rotterdam might have one as well around February time, but yeah, not really seen much these days.
Oh, is that the one they used to do at the O2?
That was hard, wasn't it? That's hard, isn't it, Mudge?
I think that was hard, yeah.
Yeah. I need to, as we're talking about clay, just a shout out to green clay as well and blue clay.
When was blue clay in Madrid? Not that long ago, or somewhere.
Yeah, it was there for 1 year. I think it was 2012, because I was out in Spain at the time seeing my mate, and all the players were moaning about it, weren't they? I think they were saying like it's one less tournament they're gonna play next season. And like, because I think they actually switched Madrid Masters from being indoor hards at the end of the year to a clay court event, didn't they? So I think they messed about with it and made it blue clay, and then realised it wasn't a hit. So yeah, change it to traditional red clay. But yeah, green clay is used as well. I haven't really seen any events with that, but yeah.
I mean, green clay is just trying to make it look a little bit more fancy, like with grass, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, another thing as well, I don't know if you guys know this, but I think 3 of the Grand Slam tournaments used to be grass.
Really?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think it was obviously Wimbledon, and I think Australia and US Open. Roland Garros has always been clay, but I think the other 3 have always, used to be. 3 of them were played on grass.
Yeah, so what, Flushing Meadows, and I think I deserve a pint because I said Flushing Meadows instead of the US Open. Is that then a hard surface? Or was that...
Yeah. So that and the funny thing is, I think they changed it because they moved from Forest Hills, another part of New York, to Flushing Meadows, and I think that's when they changed the surface, but I might be wrong.
Okay.
Someone might dig me out on that, but
Mm.
Mudge, do you remember Australian Open when it used to be on the green hardcourt
Yes.
rather than the blue?
Yeah, I actually do, because I think that was again my earliest memories of watching those, as I mentioned before, early in the mornings on a Sunday. And I do remember it being green, and even some highlights you see, even though Federer playing back in the day and stuff. And I
Yeah,
remember even in his time in Sampras and Agassi and all those guys. Yeah, I remember the green. Yeah,
I think blue looks better. Though. I mean, I
yeah.
haven't seen live green, but like just being there, it's not brighter, and yeah,
I just sort of automatically think to myself, blue and Melbourne, yeah, it goes together now, because you've just been so used to watching Australian Open, and obviously that blue, and obviously all the logos and stuff are all blue as well. So yeah, I guess it just goes.
yeah.
Timothy, what's
Yes,
next?
does indeed. The next one is, let me get up a message. I think his best favourite player of all time, if I'm correct in saying. Give me 1 second, please.
Come on, mate, keep up. You're supposed
Come
to
on,
be leading
keep
today.
back up. Did you ever play? Is the question.
Who's that to, sir?
Simon, go on.
Yeah, picked up a racket when I was 6, and that was like during the summer of '96. With some coaching sessions that my brother had. And I think I joined in shortly after that. Then I was kind of like just randomly hitting the ball down the local parks and clubs between then and about 10. And I think 10 I actually had some more sort of like group sessions with like other kids and stuff, coaching. And then yeah, just sort of played with mates and family for the next few years. Then yeah, just like kind of we actually played in Portugal a couple of times in like 40 degrees heat.
Jesus.
It used to be like these like kind of doubles tournaments, like you just get families together and just just basically play a few mini sets of tennis, and then at the end of it, everyone goes down as a beer.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was good fun as well on holiday. Portugal, sort of, I was 14, 16, and yeah, had some coaching around about 23. I coached him for about a year or two, and yeah, just sort of been playing on and off. When I was in my sort of mid to late teens, I used to play 2 or 3 times a week.
Nice. Would you say you're quite good then?
I am quite good. I kind of have this. I think more recently my fitness has probably let me down, but when I was in my teens, I'd be quite a defensive player because obviously I'm watching Murray, Djokovic, Nadal, like Leighton Hewitt, all these other players. I could see him for air. I could see him like grinding opponents down. I used to quite like just sort of hanging in there and being that kind of competitive sod that just kind of just wears out an opponent, outlasts the opponent. But then I started to kind of be a bit more aggressive after that because I thought it was too defensive. And I think standing I'm okay. Like I played league matches before, and I probably won as many as I've lost. But yeah, I've done okay. I'd like to get back into that again at some point, so I'm looking into that. So, but yeah, what about you, sir, Mitch?
Before I answer the question, you mentioning Ferrer just reminded me every time I used to watch Ferrer on TV, you know, his grunt that he had, you know, I used to always take the piss out of, you know, the he.
Oh yeah,
It was so cringe watching him playing. But yeah, it was always one of those, you know. I think he got to 1 or 2 French Open finals, didn't he?
yeah. He's just a workhorse, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Like even
yeah, that's the
that
right
quarter
word.
final against Murray at Wimbledon or the fourth round, he wouldn't go away, and it was like just can't get rid of the guy. He didn't have any like major weapons, but you just had to outlast him, and
Yeah.
he's a bit of guile, but yeah.
Did I ever play, or do I still play? So this is, I was looking forward to this question because I want to have a little rant about it. So back in the day, obviously I grew up in East London, and we had Vicky Park was literally right next to my house, like a couple of minute walk. So, you know, Vicky Park was this place we played. We had cricket nets there. You know, you can just go along and play in the nets, no problem. We had obviously the grass. We played football there. You know, we had the running track as well. You know, we'd cycled there. You know, done loads of sports and, you know, activities in Vicky Park. There was tennis courts there. I think there was 2 or 4 courts there. I think there might have been 2 actually. And the fucking annoying thing was you had to pay to use it. Like you had to actually pay or book it out. So like if you go in, which we did naturally growing up. You go in and you just start playing. Someone might come up to you and go, "Oh, have you booked a court out?" And we're like, "No." We're like kids, we're like teenagers, we just want to play a bit of tennis. Of course, we're not going to fucking pay to play a bit of tennis, and so we just have to obviously leave. So yeah, that used to always piss me off. Like, you got all these facilities in the park where, you know, like I said, we had cricket pitches as well. I forgot to mention, as well as cricket nets, and you know, you're forced to pay for it. So the odd times I actually did play, again, I could count the amount of times I played on one hand, maybe two hands. I was pony, but you know, I love the sport, so I wanted to play more and more. I wanted to practice. I wanted to actually get better at it. But because of the fact that you had to pay to use the fucking courts, it was always something that pissed me off. And they go on about, I remember on TV they go on about, oh, why can't we, you know, we need to put more money into grassroots tennis. We need to get more players like Andy Murray, you know. Not everyone is lucky enough to be like Andy Murray, where they've got parents who can send them off to wherever the hell he went. Was it Spain or something?
Barcelona, wasn't it?
Barcelona, yeah. You know, and we're just kids, teenagers who don't even earn any money, want to go and play in the park, and you know, we're being forced to pay to use the fucking court. You know what I mean? So it always used to piss me off. There are other courts actually where I live right now in Beckton. There's again 4 courts which I don't think you have to pay for, as far as I know. I've obviously attempted to go there, but yeah, how can they expect people to get better and, like, you know, embrace the sport when you're going around? I understand
Yeah.
it's you know, they're trying to make money out of it, but yeah, it was just to annoy me. What you know, the actual park I grew up in, you were forced to pay for it. So yeah, I never really played much. You know, obviously that put me off. We played a lot of badminton,
Yeah.
which was the nearest like racket sport. I guess you could call it. But yeah, didn't play much growing up because of that reason. And yeah, I'm pony at it. So yeah, Simon, you'd probably whoop my ass if we ever played it.
I'm a bit surprised about that because I mean, I do remember like parks like charging for that. I know it's because I'm guessing if you in your teens, this would have been like probably
16, 17. Yeah,
like,
I remember buying my first racket. Actually, I'll tell you the story.
Yeah, go
Like,
on.
I think I went to Argos. I was in college one day, like first year of college. I was 16. Went and bought a racket from Argos. You know, Roger Federer Wilson racket with a nice cover on it. It was about 18 quid. One cheap, shitty racket, but you know, when I got some tennis balls, you know, thought, yeah, cool. Let me start playing a bit of tennis. You know, and then yeah, you end up going to the parks and stuff and trying to play, like I say, and you end up getting hounded by someone to fucking fork out money for it. Don't get me wrong, on the odd few occasions, no one came and bothered us, and we've got away with it. But still, you know, it's just that thought, knowing, or someone might come up any minute and stop our game, or like force us to pay.
I can relate to that as well because actually, when I was a member of a club, the funny thing is, my parents would pay for me to be a member of this club here in New Malden, and apparently, but this is another thing, they claim that Fred Perry apparently was a winner of their tournament down there, like back in like 1925 or something. And they the funny thing is, I used to like have my brother come down or my dad come down or whatever, but it got to the point where I was the actual member, parents were paying for it, and I was having like my mates come down and just basically come in. That they started to put these code locks on the courts, and the funny thing is, because I'm a member, I used to go inside and say, "Yeah, I'm a member. What's the code?" And then obviously I'd go in and let myself in. I didn't know my brother one. I was playing with my mate one day. It's probably about sort of summer 2007 or 8, and my brother and his mate come down, and they're like Simon, what's the code? And I was like, it's 151587. And then a couple of other guys come down, I knew, what's the code? And then Jack came down one time. When I was playing with my mate, and then there was this really fit bird I used to quite like that used to come down and play with us as well. And Jack would just kind of be watching on the side and be messing around.
Yeah,
he was messing about with the net. And he started unwinding the net.
Yeah.
I think you know what comes next. And he started leaning on it, sitting on it.
Yeah.
The whole thing collapsed. So no, when you said about getting hounded off the court, I just thought that people come out saying, "Oh, you remember?" Like, yeah.
Oh, because you remember, they just let you carry on.
Well, it's like the amount of times I had to tell people, "Yeah, I'm a member. Do you not
Yeah,
recognise me
yeah,
by now? Have you got like
yeah,
some sort of amnesia or something?"
yeah. Oh, so
Yeah.
if you're a member, technically you can have guests or you can play with other people, but if it was a case of none of you were members, then they'll kick you all out.
Yeah, well, I think ideally they wanted everyone to be members, but you could like basically have someone down as a guest, and you got to pay
Yeah,
for them. But by that point, because I'd already I basically said I'd been in to like pay the money.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, okay, that's fine. But like the fact that like 4 or 5 other people rocking up that weren't members,
Mm-hmm.
it was just it's sort of thing it could get abused. And for a club that's
Yeah.
like claiming to be, like Fred Perry's old club and the rest of it, it wasn't particularly well maintained and looked after. But they had like squash courts. Do you ever play squash at all?
I literally, I think I played it once or twice at school because we had like a squash court inside, but yeah, we never really, it was never really popular or anything. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's good fun, but again, that's even more sort of middle class, isn't it? Middle upper
Mm.
class.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the whole fact about having to pay. Like even growing up, I know it's not tennis related, but I used to play badminton a lot growing up, and we'd have to go to the local leisure centre, hire out a court for like an hour for like 10, 12 quid. It's like I get that we're using facilities. That's absolutely fine, and it's indoors as well. I've actually got in my shed right now a badminton net
Yeah,
with a shuttlecock and 4 rackets, I think 5 rackets. Yeah. So every now and again, really, we used to go play in the park as well. But then when you go try and play in the park, if there's a little bit of wind, it just you can't really play properly. Either
nah,
you
nah.
can just about get away with it if it's not windy and it's really hot, but then at the same time it's way too hot and you're suffering. So it's difficult, in this day and
Yeah,
age. But if there was facilities there where you can just come and play, don't need to worry about paying or doing anything. You get kids, doing this a lot more, and rather than sitting at home doing nothing or getting into fucking
well,
trouble.
that's it.
It's the pain.
Yeah.
It's the problem. But oh well, that's life.
I was going to say, Tom, did you ever? I mean, you must have picked up a racket and given it a go.
Yeah, like I used to piss about more, like with the racket itself instead of actually playing a game. I mean, I've played games of tennis with my dad when we've gone on holiday somewhere, and like our best rally would be like 4. Like we wouldn't do like a double-digit rally or anything like that. We'd normally whack it too far or to the side or straight into the net. So we weren't massively into it. But one thing that didn't shock me at all is that Moosh didn't want to spend money on something, which is a massive shock and a massive I wasn't expecting that in the
Mate,
slightest.
where am I supposed to get my bloody money from, eh?
What? How much did it cost? Fiver.
About a tenner an hour.
Oh my gosh, it's
Mate,
way too
I
much
can't
money.
afford that money. You try
Can't
going
afford
in,
that money.
you try growing up going to an Asian parent telling her I want money to go play tennis. She'll be like, "Fuck off! You get a belt around your neck, mate."
Or you get a job and
That
or
Sounds
you and your
what? I'm
funny.
mates
16 years
transfer
old. Fuck
money.
that. I'm so
Oh, well, you get fucking hell. You're so
But
bad.
paper round, mate. Not that I ever did one, but paper round.
Yeah. Or sell yourself out to someone. I don't fucking know. Maybe
No,
get money.
like I said, we'd go and pay for like the badminton stuff. We'd hire out the courts. We'd pay for that shit. Obviously, it was no problem. But when you've got tennis courts that are in a bloody park, you know what I mean? It's like you shouldn't be fucking paying for that. People should be able to just go and bloody play when they want. But yeah, it was always a pain in the ass.
That being said, they're in Ireland when I used to go over there for the summer when I was younger. There was every Thursday at the GAA club. There was like a sports hall when they did like a badminton session and a squash session. And we used to go there as kids and we used to actually play. Like, we didn't fuck about in the slightest. We played for like hours on end and it was brilliant. It was such a good laugh. But then at the end of it, you would then piss about. But it was fucking mustard. Like, it was so fun. The tennis wise, yeah, again, something that I never really did, but I know how to play it. If someone told me to play it, then I could play it, but I'll be piss poor at playing it. So it don't fucking matter. Who is, what was the next question? Favorite player of all time for you boys? Mudge, crack on, please.
Now, I have to go with Nadal, Rafa Nadal, the amazing Rafa Nadal. However, I will say, like growing up, my first favorite player was probably obviously Federer. Again, it was just the word that gets used with him so often is elegance. He was just so lovely to watch on the court. He was amazing, and I remember watching obviously that famous Wimbledon final, him and Rafa. When he beat him, obviously first time round, and then second time round, Rafa managed to get the job done. But what actually made me a true Rafa fan, like a really big Rafa fan, and this is very funny, but McSweeney, what year did Rafa win the US Open? Was it 2008?
No, he lost to Murray that year in the semis. He won US Open in 2010.
2010.
He's cheating. He's looking at a screen. He's cheating.
So
2010, he beat Djokovic in the final. Because 2009 was when. Hold on. Yeah, it definitely was 2008. I think 2010 was the first time he won it.
Yeah, so I had a bet on him to win the US Open because he hadn't won it before. So I just put money on him, and I think he won me quite a bit of money. And after that, obviously, I was following him that whole tournament. I was like, oh shit, cheers, Rafa. And I genuinely became a huge fan after that. And then I used to obviously watch a lot of tennis anyway around that time, and just watching him play, hit that left hand, that forehand, where he swooshes over his head. It was just it was like a work of art, just watching him and especially Federer as well. And I just became a huge fan. And the way he conducts himself on the court, always such a nice guy. I remember watching him lose to Wawrinka in the Australian Open final, when he was clearly injured and unable to continue, but he just soldiered on. And even at the end of it, he didn't blame injury or anything. He just literally said Wawrinka was the better man at the end of the day, and he deserves it. And just so much grace to accept defeat and not to make excuses. Him and Federer both, the way they presented themselves throughout their careers, it was just such a joy to watch and see. So yeah, but I think for Nadal, in terms of his power, that forehand, the way he, relentless. I loved watching him play growing up. So yeah, definitely, I'd say Rafa's right up there. What about you,
Simon?
Yeah, it won't surprise me. Won't surprise you guys to hear that it's Andy Murray.
Yeah.
And before he joined Tom, I actually went to see him play when he was 18.
Okay.
On centre court in 2005 against David Nalbandian. So that was the third rounds. And I think basically since that moment, because I didn't see Queen's Club just before that, when he was sort of just coming through, starting to win like matches on the main tour. Obviously won the US Open Juniors year before. But yeah, like just seeing that the sort of fight. I mean, at the time, Tim Henman was on the decline, and I was kind of thinking, well, who? Because I actually loved Tim Henman. I know he didn't quite cut the mustard in terms of winning the major, but he was one of the reasons why I actually got into tennis. And then it was like, okay, Henman's back's now basically fucked. He's nowhere near as good as he used to be. I think he was still in the top 10 at that point, but it's like, okay, who else have we got? And this guy I went on holiday with said, oh, you got Andrew Murray, not Andy Murray, Andrew Murray.
Oh, Andrew.
Andrew, yeah. So everyone's calling Andrew Murray at the time. And it was just like, my brother goes to me, oh, but he was getting Stefanik in the second round. And my brother was like, oh, he's Scottish. And I'm like, I don't really care. Like, I just want to see him play. And he dismantled Stefanik was like 13 in the world at the time. And Andy was like, I think 300 in the world. 313 in the world. So he's beating a guy 300 places higher than him, a good player as well, Radek Stefanik. And I think just from that point onwards, it was like even the matches he had against like Clement and another guy at the US Open, it was the same thing where he just kept cramping, and it was a case that he had to obviously get fitter, bulk up a bit. And that was that match against Gasquet in 2008 at Wimbledon, where he obviously was 2 sets down, and that was a moment where he sort of like started to finally, I think, endear himself to the British public, because he wasn't exactly popular before that.
Yeah, I remember that one.
A lot of people just said he was anti-English because he had a bit of banter with Tim Henman and some journalist about England at the World Cup, and it's like everyone does that from Scotland to England. It's not like a new thing. So yeah, just like I think the way he was just hanging matches, and he would get to drop shots. He would like lob people. He had like a vast repertoire of shots, and that grit and determination. That's what really drew me to him. And then obviously when he finally won US Open in 2012, Olympic gold just before that, and 2 Wimbledons thereafter. And obviously, a gold at Rio, I think we can probably safely say I do actually think he's one of the best British sports people of all time.
Right up there, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
top 3.
No arguments. Top 3.
Yeah, top 3 for me, definitely.
We probably get another podcast, can't we? Go into who's the greatest British athletes or sports people of all time.
I think that would be one definitely we can put in for next week. But yeah, I think Murray is up there, top 3. We won't discuss who else is up there because we'll discuss that next week. But yeah, he's definitely done so much for the country. Got achieved so much. Obviously, what is he, a Sir now, ain't he? Sir Andy Murray.
Yeah.
So yeah,
number one. Yeah.
I think what he's achieved is amazing. And one thing I will say, and I think I said this to you before, Simon, I was never a huge fan of Murray growing up. Again, because of the way he used to have a lot of outbursts on court and stuff, I was thinking to myself, fucking, I'll just get on with it. But watching this documentary on Amazon actually made me respect him and admire him so much more because I got to know him like behind the camera. You know what I mean? Watching that documentary.
Yeah.
And I actually can respect that. And of course, I watched a shit ton of his games. I never disliked him. Let's just put it that way. Djokovic I used to fucking dislike. I never liked him. Still don't. But Murray, I never disliked him. I did appreciate what he'd done, but I was just never a huge fan. Let's just put it that way. But what he achieved in the game, all the achievements you just mentioned, all the accolades, amazing. Amazing. And I can't see any Brit matching that anytime soon.
Well, I mean, obviously Draper's doing well, but to actually match what he did, I think that it speaks volumes, isn't it, really? That world number one, what was it, 600, 700 wins or whatever it was on tour?
In the era which he had, the 3 best of all time around him, and he still managed to achieve that. Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking at the same time as to say that he was one of the greatest of all time, but then put him in that same generation bracket as Federer, Djokovic, and Nadal as well is fucking tough. I mean, they all respected the hell out of each other as well. And when he finally retired, because was it last Wimbledon he went in as a double with his brother?
Yeah.
And then everyone was just waiting for him to lose. So then the BBC could then do the big, massive, pompous thing that they did in the end, which was 500,000 fucking videos. And Sue Barker came back as well, and it was just a massive thing. It was huge.
That was brilliant, though, wasn't it? Even the speech was brilliant about how he said he threw up in a cab after his second Wimbledon win.
Yeah, exactly.
And he really threw up on court in front of his future wife in US Open in 2005. And did he say, I gave my, I didn't ask for a number, I asked for an email address.
Yeah, exactly. He's such an old school dude. And he's very, he's very blank, isn't he? Like when he talks, he doesn't laugh or smile or give any facial expressions. He's just very to the point. And he is funny, but he doesn't give a shit that he's told to joke something like that.
I think that's why him and Ivan Lendl work so well together, because Ivan Lendl's like dry and cream cracker in the Sahara Desert as well. So
exactly.
He's just dry sense of humour, but sort of tongue in cheek the whole time. You don't know if he's joking or not. When he does joke, it's funny.
Is that his coach?
It was his coach 3 times actually. Yeah, 3 times, and actually twice when he went on to win US Open and the 2 Wimbledons.
Shit. Why do they change coach so many times? And then why did the coach always go back? Is it because it was a case of, I won something under you, so I'm going to try and bring that back?
I think Moods will agree with me. It's because he kept shouting up and abusing him, didn't he? It was. I mean, a lot of the time it was because he was a difficult person. I think if he was to be on this spot now, he'd say exactly the same. He'd say exactly the same.
it's like I said before, sometimes on court he just comes across so aggressive, talking to himself, like so negative. And yeah, I just sit there sometimes watching it and thinking, mate, just get on with it. Like, stop moaning, stop complaining, stop whinging, get yourself back into the game. The likes of Federer and Nadal, they would do exactly that. Just you won't see much. People say, oh no, it's good to see people being emotional and letting their. But no, we don't want to see that. We want to see good tennis. Yeah, you fucked up a point. Recover and get back to it.
Yeah.
And I think in terms of changing coaches, if something's not working out, then yeah, I think a change is always good to try. But yeah, obviously with him, he got a lot of success with Lendl, so it makes sense. It went back to him.
I do believe that if he hadn't have had those like rants and tantrums and stuff, he would have gone to win more majors.
Yeah.
Do you agree, Mitch?
And yes, I do. And also on top of that, bear in mind who else was around at that time. I think that was just really unlucky for him. He got to
fine margins, wasn't it?
He got to a ton of finals.
The mindset, mentality, the fact he had to be more aggressive, which wasn't his natural way of playing. And I think just he would have won at least probably 4 or 5 more majors, which it's still amazing, isn't it? Really, like you think like 8 Grand Slams. It's nowhere near the caliber of Nadal, Djokovic, and Federer, but still, it was like you say, toughest era.
Yeah, it was. We got 3 minutes left, so I just want to quickly get the last question in. Best match you've ever seen?
Best match. Simon, crack on, mate.
I think I know what Midge is going to say, so I'm going to go for a slightly different one. I'm going to go for the Murray Djokovic Australian Open 2012 semi-final, and it was 7-5 in the 5th set. And I think it was basically a turning point where I actually thought Murray's going to go on to win a Grand Slam now, because he was starting to be more aggressive. He should really have won it. Would have been against Nadal in the finals. There's no guarantees he would have won that, but I think that was the moment for me. It was like a turning point. So, obviously, late that year, the Wimbledon loss to Federer helped as well, because then he had the Olympic gold after that. But I'd say, Australian Open 2012 semi-final, Murray versus Djokovic. Right, Mitch.
Now, you probably expect me to say Federer and Nadal, right? Wimbledon, second one, yeah?
2008. Third one, because don't forget, he did 06, 07, and then 08. Third time lucky.
Of course. That one is up there, but for me, it was a few years ago, Nadal and Medvedev. Australian Open final. Obviously, Nadal down and out, 2 sets down. I remember watching. I think I was in Ukraine at the time, and I remember watching, and I was like, "Oh yeah, there's no point fucking carrying on watching this." You know what I mean? He's going to lose 2 sets down, and obviously he's old. He's quite old at this point. He's obviously getting on. The way he fucking came back and won that tournament, like 2 sets down, it was just, I remember like my emotions during that game. I was on my feet, I was celebrating every point. It was the most emotional I've been watching a match of tennis, and for him to make that remarkable comeback and win another Grand Slam, it was just so crazy, and again, it was amazing for me to watch. So I think that one is right up there. Even now, every now and again, the Australian Open social media channels will upload highlights or put it up, and I just watch it again, and I think to myself, how the fuck did he manage that? But I think that just proved what an amazing player and champion he was. To still knock it out after all these years and win another Grand Slam. So yeah, I think that one for me, and obviously because of the wanker who he beat in the final as well, that was so much sweeter as well.
Absolute warrior, wasn't he? Really. I like the when Zverev lost to Team in the 2020 US Open final.
2 sets up as well, yeah.
2 sets up.
Yeah.
The same reason what you just said.
Exactly.
And I like Dominic Thiem as well. Shout out to him.
Yeah, he deserved it. Yeah.
But he absolutely deserved it. And sadly had his wrist injuries, but still an amazing achievement.
All right, so yeah, I'll wrap up. We've got 15 seconds left. Timothy, thank you again for joining. I know it was not from the beginning, but yeah, thank you. And next week we will discuss greatest British sports stars. So yeah, until next week. Cheers, guys.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Good week. Bye.